Hello and welcome to another episode of Pictures Without Pictures. This week we were going to be watching A Nightmare on Elm Street, but a whole bunch of stuff happened with that I'm going to touch on briefly right now. First of all, I said we were going to do the 1984 original film, which was on Netflix. Anyone who then went and searched on Netflix would have found out that actually it was a 2010 reboot. I did not know that there was a 2010 reboot, and I watched about 20 minutes of it going, this is an extremely high quality video for a 1984 film, and it took until the protagonist, or one of them, goes into the attic and looks through her memories from boxes marked 1991 to make me go, oh, this probably didn't come out in 1984. The second thing that happened is I was like, okay, we'll watch the 2010 version. I posted that update on Twitter, and then I got to the end of that film, and I went, we are not doing this film, because it has themes of sexual assault and child abuse, and they are not handled in any kind of tasteful way at all, or any kind of sensitive way at all, and I basically just don't want to spend an hour and a half talking about how they turned a beloved horror movie dude into a child molester. So we're going to leave that there and have more of a general podcast about what we like to watch, what we've been watching recently, that kind of stuff. Not even necessarily about movies, just about general stuff, because I still want to do a podcast. But yeah, hi, Reese is here too. Hi, Reese.
Hello.
It's not just me hogging up
Me.
the streamways. The background is of a nice grassy anime field. I'd say that's anime. That's the kind of field you see in anime things. Yeah. So, I guess I'll just open with Reese. What have you been watching lately?
I have been watching various things. I finished a few things actually. So obviously, Haunting of Bly Manor came out.
Yeah.
Which was good and interesting and fun.
Was it
very
spooky?
different from it was, and it was very different from Haunting of Hill House. So that was cool and interesting. They were more or less just separate. Like it was just a case of these are just stories in like the Haunting series, where they're just different stories from different people's perspectives. And it was very good. People in it were fantastic. I think definitely the characters in it were brilliant. Without being too spoilery. It has some very good emotional moments in it, and it does play out less horror, I'd say, because I think I'd heard that a lot of people complaining that it wasn't as scary. And I was like, well, yeah, because it's not the point this time. This time it was more of a like a weird romance tragedy thing, which was interesting. I found it very interesting, and it was very good, and it was very upsetting, and it was less horror for the sake of like spooks and stuff, and more horror of like dread, as if like, because something will happen and you know it will happen, and the character knows it will happen, it's just waiting for it to happen. And it's done very well, I think. And yeah, and all else I'll say about it is my gaydar was on point, and I'm very proud of myself.
It makes me question stuff like that, by the way, like when you talk about gay relationships in fiction, right? Not to go down a huge like philosophical rabbit hole, but like, could you consider that a spoiler? Because
no, because you don't really, because there's enough of like, because I said gay, I didn't say if it was male or female. I didn't say, you know.
For me, it was a specific. I won't say what show it was because I may end up spoiling it as well. But I was told that a specific character in a show I was watching turned out to have a same-sex relationship at one point, which was really cool. But because of that, the entire show, I was like waiting for it to happen. Yeah, and I kind of worked it out along the way and stuff. And it's like, I guess it is a spoiler, but it comes down to like, is it important enough to ruin it? It definitely didn't ruin anything for me, but like, I don't know. I can't really go into more depth on that without spoiling a certain show. But
for sure.
But yeah, lately I have been watching. So last year there was a whole thing, and it happened again a few months ago, and everyone seemed to forget it had already happened. But last year there was a whole thing where Avatar: The Last Airbender got added to Netflix, and I was like, oh hey, I've never seen this show. So I watched through that, and I absolutely loved it. I loved its themes and everything. I was super impressed by the fact that it's a bloody Nickelodeon show, and it's like
It is, yeah.
it gets really heavy at times, like super heavy at times, and like it tells a really good story. It's a shining example of how young adult fiction, no matter what the medium is, can appeal to any age, and yeah, it's just fantastic. If you've never seen The Legend of Aang, I always get that mixed up. If you've never seen The Last Airbender, I highly recommend you see it. If you've never seen The Legend of Aang, I recommend you keep it that way, because from what I've heard, that movie is a real shit show. But yeah, so I did that, and then I found out that The Legend of Korra was on Amazon Prime, and I didn't really want to support Amazon. I try not to support Amazon where I can, basically. But my phone contract had a thing where it was like a free swappable benefit for like Amazon Prime Video. I was like, this probably still gets back to Bezos in some way or another, but I really want to see The Legend of Korra. So about a year later, this was like these last few weeks, I watched The Legend of Korra, and I have never watched a show that is so different but still so successful in what it does as a successor show. Like, it was so good, dude. Like, I highly recommend these. I always forget. I think you said you've seen The Last Airbender, right? Or have you not seen that?
I've watched some of it, and I grew up in the time when it was on TV as well, so I did see like bits of it here and there.
Yeah,
but I haven't watched it all the way through, so I don't know.
I recommend
of
watching it
certain
all
things.
in order. And then I recommend watching The Legend of Korra afterwards, maybe after a break or something. Because that's what I did. I decided to take a break before I dived into the next series, because it's a big thing. Like, I don't want to just like.
The only reason
you want to let it breathe.
I was just gonna say, the only reason I know much about Legend of Korra is because of some not nice things that happened with regards to that.
Oh, really?
But, yeah. So apparently I know about the You've finished it now, haven't you?
Yes,
right.
But
I haven't watched it
necessarily
myself.
spoil it for
I've been told about it and stuff. But obviously a certain group is represented in that show to a degree, and
the Equalists?
apparently in the original airing of it, it was on Nickelodeon. It was subdued or like restricted a lot, and people weren't happy about it basically.
Oh, I never heard this.
And it's. Yeah, apparently Nickelodeon was very they restricted it or something like that. I don't remember specifically what happened with it.
That's a shame.
But the only reason I heard that come up is because I think I saw someone responding to a tweet that like a Facebook post or something that they had made, where they were like going on about it. And they were just like, no, you don't get to talk about these characters in that light when you didn't fully express, or let them be expressed in this show.
You'll have to,
and I looked into it, and yeah.
You'll have to tell me more about that afterwards, because that sounds like it might verge on.
Yeah, I'll look into it. It's hard. I'm trying to say it without saying what it is, but yeah.
I think I know what you mean.
I'll see if we can look
we'll talk about it after the show. But yeah, basically I watched that show, and if you want to hear more of my thoughts on Legend of Korra, I have done a series on my YouTube channel where for every season I've done about a 10-minute video talking about basically my thoughts on it. Like, I've also uploaded them as little mini podcasts to the podcast feed Criticary FM, which you should be able to find on Spotify and places, or maybe just Spotify. The icon I chose for that feed was a picture of my World of Warcraft character reading a map, and apparently that was enough to infringe copyright, so Apple aren't putting it up on their podcast stuff. And that ticked me off so much, I was like, no, I'm not changing that, fuck you. Are you kidding me right now? Come on, get out of here with that shit.
Jesus Christ.
Can't have a picture of my own World of Warcraft character? Go away, shut up, not talking to you, Apple. Corporations. There's that whole thing going on with Twitch at the minute, isn't it, for all the DMCA takedowns?
Yeah.
I actually haven't checked to see if I'm affected by that. I don't think I would be.
I double checked. I don't think I have either.
I mean, I haven't had any emails or anything about it, but I mean, my VODs mostly just expire anyway. It's just clips that I've got up there. I put all my VODs on YouTube where they've been doing this shit for years, and instead of just taking it down, they'll make money off of you instead, because that's ethical. Anyway, so that's that whole situation. But yeah, I finished watching The Legend of Korra, and it reminds me of a project I've wanted to start doing, right? And this is very tied into Pictures Without Pictures. But basically, what I want
Right.
to do is, and what I've started doing, is making this playlist on YouTube that just has my favourite scenes. Because usually, you can look up a scene on YouTube and either officially or unofficially, it's being clipped out, and you can basically just add videos to playlists anyway. So I thought, why not do that? And I'll start by going through Doctor Who. Well, let me tell you, I've been doing that for a few hours now, and I've gone up to the end of Matt Smith's era, and there's about I want to say 20 or 30 scenes I've put into that playlist of just like outstanding scenes, but it's on my YouTube, and I think I'm gonna have a separate one for shows versus movies, because the original intent was that I would pick. I'm not going to restrict myself this way like I originally thought, but my original intention was I would pick one scene from each movie we did on this podcast that was my favourite scene and put it in that playlist. But I think now I'll just put, if there's two scenes in a movie that are really outstanding, I'll just put them both in there. If there's, like, if I'm trying to think up a scene for Iron Man 2 but I can't think of anything, I'm not going to put that in there, you know? It's not going to be like one scene per movie. I always restrict myself in weird ways on that kind of thing, but I really liked the scene that we did, like we made the movie. I really liked the scene in Gladiator that we talked about, where he's talking about if your family will wait for you in the afterlife, or would you wait for your family in the afterlife. I really loved that scene, and that was really what sparked the idea of I want to have a playlist. The only issue I have about that is that a lot of people who upload scenes put spoilers in the titles, and I don't know how to get around that. I'm just gonna have to say
it's annoying.
View those playlists at your own discretion, I guess, and the best I can really do is put movies and shows in a separate playlist, because I mean I could just do a separate playlist for every show, but then I'm only going to have one scene from certain shows, you know. It's not going to be a playlist per one clip. So but yeah, that's something I've had fun doing at the minute. I've done Doctor Who, or I've done half of Doctor Who. I'm not sure whether to keep going or to wait until I rewatch Peter Capaldi's stuff and do that as I go. The other problem is it's also difficult to rearrange stuff in YouTube playlists because YouTube is an ass of a website. And so if for instance I've got like this playlist of thousands of songs on Spotify, if I want to move a song from the bottom to the top, it'll take me a while to scroll all the way up there, but it won't be difficult, and like I can select multiple and stuff. But the YouTube playlist like stuff, it's much harder to move stuff up and down, so yeah. But that's something I've been doing, and I'm looking forward to doing more of that. I'm trying to figure out what show I'm going to do next. Maybe Game of Thrones. But that's the kind of show for certain where like a spoiler in the title could ruin your day as you're scrolling past, so I don't know about that.
Yeah. Just a random news drop that I've just seen, sorry. Apparently Oscar Isaac is in negotiations to play Moon Knight.
Oh my god. Okay, so Moon Knight is a Marvel character who me and Reese love because he's just a bit shit, but everyone
It's like
loves him.
if you took Batman but made it really kind of dumb.
Yeah. Batman, but dumber.
But he beat Taskmaster because he fights so crazily. Oh my god.
Adults wrote
That was
that.
my favorite
Actual
story. I think it was my favorite story.
Creative
so good.
adults wrote that plot, right? Oh, my days.
But I mean, the Marvel's full of weird shit like that.
Yeah,
though.
it is.
Wall man.
I can't wait for
He was
WandaVision.
bit by a radioactive wall.
I can't wait for WandaVision because I think that comes out in the next few months.
That looks good, yeah.
Question
Because
mark?
that's
Hang
based on a
it looks
series
up.
of comics where Vision made
December.
like a whole like sort of small.
Well, wait.
rural
Before you
village
say
think.
anything, I don't know how much of that will end up being spoilers for people who don't like look into comic side of things. So, I'd stay away from.
Right, well, it's based on a series of comics that
Yeah.
specifically is Vision, but this time it seems that Wanda's going to be part of it as well.
Yeah.
And there was a trailer that came out not too long ago, which is starting to allude at the weirdness of it all.
I know it was such a good
it's cool.
trailer.
Very good trailer.
Where wasn't there like that guy in a car and he was like, "Am I dead?"
Yeah.
And she was like, "What? No, why? Why would you be dead?" He's like, "Because you're dead." Or I forget what it was because
Yeah.
I haven't seen the trailer in a while.
Yeah,
but was
it
something like that.
was Vision and some old woman in the car. And she
Yeah.
was like, "Am I dead?" And she was like, "No." And then she was like, "Well, you are."
Yeah, it seems really weird and fucky, and I absolutely can't wait. Not just because it looks like a really
It's
good
kind of the
series
point,
in
I
its
think.
own right, but also because this will be Marvel, the MCU's first foray. Well, actually, I lie. It definitely won't be the MCU's first foray into shows. You've got wonderful stuff like Daredevil and Jessica Jones and all that, and then you've also got Agents of Shield. But this will be, how would I say it? It's like MCU
It's
level
different.
production. It's like
Exactly,
with
because
the
it's gonna
main
be
characters.
using the characters that are in the MCU. Like it's the
Yes.
same with like when Falcon and the Winter Soldier show, which by the way I've heard some shitty things about recently.
Oh no.
One of the actors has basically said apparently the working conditions are fucking awful.
Oh, great.
So
I mean, to
ooh,
be fair,
don't know if I want to support that one, but
that's
yeah.
not one of the ones I'm more excited about. That doesn't really appeal to me.
yeah,
It
that
just
one's-
seems
that
kind of
one's-
boring.
Yeah, like that one, it'll be interesting to see what they do with it. But that one was definitely like Captain America's like whole thing was like he had a task force to just do like just fight baddies pretty much. His whole thing was just more of what he did in the first film, effectively, except not in a big compilation.
Yeah,
In his first film, I mean Captain America is what I mean.
yeah. But yeah, I'm excited for that. I know. Speaking of Disney Plus, The Mandalorian season 2 starts soon. Have you seen Have you seen season 1?
I haven't. No, I haven't got around to it.
So
I think
every
I'm just a
time I
bit
send that
burnt
gift
out on
to
Star
you-
Wars stuff.
No, dude, this is the reason you'll like this show. It's really different compared to other Star Wars stuff. I think you'd like it.
I'm sure it is, but you know.
Most Star Wars stuff is very well, actually, I guess that's not the case. I can't say most Star Wars stuff is similar to itself when the final trilogy couldn't even have a coherent vision for a narrative, really, can I? But I mean, I don't know. It's very different. I think you'd like it. It's really. It feels like one of those really character-focused shows where actions speak louder than words, and you're just following the actions of a single character.
Yeah.
It reminds me almost of Breaking Bad in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very good, and I'm excited for season 2.
Changing the subject back to the DMCA stuff, by the way, I just checked my stream from yesterday, my VOD from yesterday, and some of the audio has been muted in parts of it, apparently.
That's not a
Not
DMCA
surprised.
takedown, though. That's something they've
Yeah, I
done
know,
for a
but
while.
like, I just checked it, and I thought it was funny to mention, because, yeah, 'cause I was kind of expecting it, though, because I've had an issue with, like, playing certain games before, it's like that. But it's usually, like, it's because they'll play a song for, like, one cutscene, or they'll play a song during the intro or something.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
literally, because I was playing Hitman Blood Money, and it plays Ave Maria,
Ah.
in the intro, so I was like, oh, I need to get out of this, I need to get out of this menu real quick.
Yeah, modern games really need to provide a streamer-friendly option that just removes stuff like
Some
that.
of them do.
I know,
Some of
but
them
it needs to
do,
be
but
more
in atmospheric
across the
games,
board.
it's quite funny. So I believe Life is Strange does it, because Life is Strange has a lot of copyright music.
Oh,
in
that
it,
has a
but
beautiful
it doesn't.
soundtrack, though.
But it doesn't replace it with anything. It's just
that's unfortunate.
silence, and it's really upsetting because it just completely ruins the mood.
Yeah. God, Life is Strange. I've never played that game, but I did, and I will play that game eventually. But I
And all
saw
the
it.
spin-off ones as well.
I saw a streamer play through it, and my God, the soundtrack to that game is so good.
The most recent game of it, it's Life is Strange 2, follows some. I think they're from Mexico. Basically, it's obviously you got your you know what it's about, I'm sure, like the Life is Strange stuff. Like it's about weird powers and stuff,
Yeah.
obviously. But it follows like these two kids, and it's really good and it's really interesting.
Ah.
And,
That's not the
like,
latest thing
decisions
they've
are
made,
like
by the
based
way.
between the two characters. Was that?
That's not the latest thing they've made. Don't Nod made another extremely similar style of game called Tell Me Why,
Oh, okay.
which is about these twins who are.
I
trying
meant
to
just in the
figure-
Life is Strange
Yeah.
series. I mean,
Yeah. no.
because you've got Before the Storm, which is the friend. I can't remember her name now. Max's friend, and then there's it's like a prequel, and then there's that one which is after, and that one because there was like a short one episodic thing to like build up to Life is Strange 2,
Yeah.
which is like Captain Amazing or something like
Yeah,
that. I can't
something
remember,
like
but
that.
basically you played as like a little kid.
Yeah.
And then I think the idea is like that storyline coincides with the storyline of Life is Strange 2.
Yeah.
And it kind of just joins in.
We
but
should.
that was awesome, and we should definitely do like a playthrough where like one of us streams it or something.
I was gonna say it might be an idea for a Pictures Without Pictures. I know it's not a movie, but like games like that are so narratively focused.
Story based games. Yeah, I mean it works. It's still story driven game. Like yeah, like something that's got like like Telltale game style of stuff as well.
Yeah. It's worth mentioning as well. The reason we don't do series and shows and stuff on Pictures Without Pictures is because I can't figure out a way to make it work. Because it would either have to be like
a lot.
we're just doing a single show for half a year, or like on a weekly basis, or we're binging an entire season in a week just to do a season roundup at the end of a week, which is not healthy.
It's a lot to just round up as well. Like a lot can happen in a series. Why it's a series, like because you can fit more in.
Yeah.
And to make a cohesive and thing in an hour won't work.
And it would be my absolute dream to do like a Game of Thrones rewatch podcast. I know that would not be original, but I would fucking love to do it because I love that show, even the ending. And
I mean, it would be a case of like, I think like it would be the former for sure, like where you'd have to do it like you'd have to do like episodically, like you couldn't do it, and, like, or maybe like a couple episodes at most.
Now, I'd really like to do a deep dive on every episode is the thing though, so and you could say just run it alongside Pictures Without Pictures, but like this is already a fairly hefty time commitment per week that we enjoy doing.
I mean that's the thing as well though, because this is something that I wanted to do literally solo for a while, and so we could literally do it but it's from my end instead, and then I do all the busy work in between, because you've already got the busy work of doing this stuff. Obviously it's not too crazy, but I imagine I would like to do that basically.
Maybe we'll talk about it
because I've specifically built a channel to do stuff like that as well, and it'd be interesting to do. So
no, we could do something like that.
I was planning on doing it in like a more scripted sense as well though, so either way.
There's so many things, like this is kind of getting away from movies and shows a bit, but there's so many things that like whenever I'm consuming content now, I'm always thinking about like, and I think I speak about it in the wrong ways because I always say about consuming content and creating content. Those are very business terms, but it's the only way I really know how to talk about it. But obviously,
it gets the point across, you know.
Yeah, but like I'm always thinking about how to make content out of my experiences with other content. Like I was just thinking about, like, you know, the other day when I made some sort of reference to Dan Chan's Demonata books to you. And then I was like, oh, I fucking love that series. I spent like half an hour after that thinking about, if I were to like a read through of that series, what would be the best way to talk about it? Would it be in thoughts on videos, or would it be in like written blog posts? Would I be doing one per chapter, one per book? Like, could I do a thing where I'm reading it? Would that be a copyright issue if I'm literally reading it and talking about it? Would that be a live stream thing? Like, I do this all the time.
It's the same. I think in regards to that, if you're reading a book, it's the same as playing a game on stream. I would say you're using it, but you're also adding your voice to it as well, making it somewhat unique.
That would be cool if that is the way that's handled. But all I'm saying is like I'm constantly thinking about like, how could I turn this into something creative that I could do? I fucking love that about my brain. There's not a lot of things about my brain that I love, but I love that.
My brain's the same way as well, for sure. My brain is exactly the same way before, because like you just get into thinking about something and then you start like ripping something apart, or something like maybe a show or that, and then you're like, fuck, I could like really like make something out of this, like my ideas and stuff. And put them out there.
And
it's interesting.
And that's how Pictures Without Pictures came about. I was like, I think I've narrowed down the format of what would be a good way to talk about movies. I want to do it with my friend, and it would be great to do it in like in a podcast format, but also like live streaming, so that like people in chat can talk if they want to, all this kind of thing. And it's just something I'm always thinking about. Like with the Pokemon games, I was going to replay through Alpha Sapphire. I kind of put that aside while the new Crown Tundra DLC released, but I was like, I'm just going to make this a thread full of screenshots, because that's just, I feel like I'm not making a proper thing out of this, but I do want to talk about it. It's always in my brain of what level of effort do I want to put into talking about this thing, and it's cool. It's a cool way to be. But I know some people probably couldn't stand that. They're like, I don't want to talk about every single thing I watch or read or something like that. Because that's the thing as well. Like, these aren't necessarily reviews. Like, from a critical standpoint, we talk about what movies do right and wrong and all that as well. But mostly it's just our impressions, like how we felt about it, what it did for us, stuff like that. I think there's a small difference there. Like, we're not just going, oh yeah, I'd give this movie a 7 out of 10 because of, well, you see...
But that's not the point of this content, for sure. Our
Exactly.
point of this content is to purely be like, hey, we like this, we don't like this.
Yeah. The point of this, the point of this
Sorry, Karen.
podcast is to be able to say, God, I jumped so bad during that movie, and you're like, oh, I thought it was really bad at doing horror. And it's like, oh no.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Ugh.
Oh my God, can I just say, like, my sound wave of me laughing is really pleasant to look at.
Reesgiggle.wav.
It's really pleasant to look at. That's really cool. But yeah, I had an idea for doing stuff about because I haven't fully like put it out there yet on any of my stuff that I do, but I made a follow-up account on YouTube, like another account to do like more like stuff that I wanted to do. I called it Passionate Being. And the idea of it was I was gonna talk about stuff I really like, or like a show I really like, or whatever, and like talk about it in like a scripted manner, but then at the end have it as like the gushing minute or something, where I just go on about all the cool shit I really like and just rant and rant and rant for like a full minute.
You just reminded me that my gateway into this kind of content was one day I was World of Warcraft, of course. I think I'd just spent ages reading up on World of Warcraft lore, and I was just so gushy about it. I was like, I've got to record something, and it's still on my channel, I believe. You can look it up if you go to my channel and search for the World of Warcraft ramble, or I forget what I even called it, but it's just this 15-minute video of me rambling about why I love World of Warcraft lore so much, and it wasn't part of any established series I'd been making. I don't think I'd even started editing videos and uploading them beyond that point. The Weekly Deathmatch may not have even started by then, but I was just like,
Yeah.
I did it. I just felt like doing it, and I did it, and it got a decent response too for my standards. And I remember looking back on that like a few months later and being like, I should probably do more of that because it was fun. And yeah,
It's like that that video that I showed you. Where it was like what was it, like the full complete history of WoW or something, but it was
Yeah.
like hyper condensed.
Yeah.
And it was really fun video. I feel like making videos like that would be super fun for sure, because it's informative and it's done in a way which you'll remember as well because it's funny.
yeah, yeah.
So
Mine
yeah,
was definitely
I'd love to
reactionary,
do something like
not
that, maybe like
informative,
Destiny 2 or something.
but yeah.
Because Destiny 2 lore fucking fascinates me.
I like some of it. Other parts of it can hang.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the point. Have you seen the trailer for the new story stuff for the
I haven't.
Aramis?
No, I haven't really touched any Destiny stuff. In a
They
while.
have spooky stasis powers as well, so I'm prepared to get frozen a lot in, in strikes, I guess, and
Oh,
raids,
can't wait.
as well as Crucible and everywhere else.
So, Reese, to go back to more movie stuff, what movies are coming out soon that you're excited about?
Oh God. See, I'm not sure in terms of movie. You know what, I'll look up what movies are coming out
That's a good idea.
soon because I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Well, I can tell you one while we search. I
what?
sent it to you the other day. I saw this trailer for a movie. This isn't necessarily one that I think will be good. First of all, before I even say the name of it, there is a movie called Freaky, and
yeah.
It is. If you've ever seen the movie Freaky Friday, they basically mixed that with a movie like Friday the 13th. And they didn't call it Freaky Friday the 13th, and I'm very upset, even though it was probably a copyright issue. I'm still very upset about it. But still, it looks really bad. And I'm excited to see how bad it is, basically. It's about this like middle-aged man who's the murderer. He kills this teenage girl in a very horror tropey kind of a way, but then they swap bodies and like she has to convince her friends in the body of a murderer that about what's happened and to stay away from the murderer who's in her body. I didn't even see this trailer with sound. I literally saw it with subtitles on because I was in the break room at work. But I was just like, this looks like a silly movie. And this is when I'm like, oh, you know, haha, movies are fun. And then I find out it treats, like, I don't know, some issues really badly, and then we can never talk about it on here again. Oh my god, we can talk about the Monster Hunter trailer as well, friend.
Yes, we can talk about that. But first, I'll just finish up what I'm saying here with this. So, because that will include. So, I think the next film I'm probably excited for is probably Morbius, because I'm really interested in how they're going to do that.
Yeah.
It's going to be really interesting because that's definitely a villain that's not been explored, and probably one of the more interesting Spider-Man villains as well.
Yeah. Is that okay? Is that an MCU movie, or is that more the Sony side of things?
I'm not sure.
It sounds like it would be a movie that's more Sony side.
It does sound like it's more Sony side, but
let's have a look.
It doesn't look too bad, unless like I don't know. Like it depends on how they're doing it now, because I feel like they're being a bit weird about it all, for sure. But yeah, there's that one. There's also a lot of good horror movies coming out next year as well. Quiet Place 2, specifically, I'm very interested in watching. But yeah, a lot of like obviously the new MCU stuff comes out next year as well. December next year will be Spider-Man. They've also got Black Widow, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Also Venom 2 as well. Let There Be Carnage. But obviously that's not really MCU, it's just, you know, Sony.
Hey friend, I haven't come up with an answer as to whether it's the Sony side of things or not, but I have found out that Matt Smith is in this film, and there's some trivia here. Matt Smith joined the film after previously turning down other superhero film roles, but he basically decided to do Morbius because of A, the director's involvement, but also B, encouragement from Karen Gillan, who's Nebula, but she was
way!
also...
Oh, that's...
I know, that makes me so happy.
Oh, that's so good. Holy crap. Oh, that makes me so happy. Oh, because I'm part of that Smith part in Doctor Who now as well. So
yeah, Reese has been watching Doctor Who recently with Molly, it's been making me extremely happy because Doctor Who is a very important part of my show watching life. Up there with some of the most important pieces of fiction, really, that I've read. And the fact that he's really watching through it at the minute makes me very happy. I keep asking for updates.
Yeah, I've not been watching too much at the minute.
Yeah.
Just because obviously me and Molly have been busy. Because we're watching it together.
You're at the Peter Capaldi era, it's fine, we understand.
Yeah, but we're in Peter Capaldi now. What was the last episode I watched? Last episode I watched was Robin Hood, I think.
Yeah, that's the last one I watched. I need to keep watching. I'm on a really slow rewatch. I watch about an episode every 4 months. I keep forgetting that I'm rewatching it, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I should watch another episode. But yeah, I feel like I didn't do Peter Capaldi's run in Doctor Who justice at the time. I was extremely critical of the episodes because I read the subreddit a lot, and the subreddit was very critical of the episodes. And now I just go with the flow and enjoy the episodes for what they are instead of being like, duh, this contradicts something else in the law. So that's my Redditor impersonation, by the way. And yeah, now I'm just like, you know what, if it's a fun episode, I'm just going to sit back and enjoy the ride. That being said, there are some real stinkers in the Capaldi era, so looking forward to you reaching those and us talking about them. But I don't remember a lot of episodes in Capaldi's era, so I need to get back to watching those. I'll probably do that later, actually, because since I finished The Legend of Korra, I have not found a new show yet. I'm just kind of like, I'm in that, you know, that mode after you finish watching a really good show where you're just kind of like, it's over. That's where I am right now. It's like you can't really pick up anything else because you're just sad that it's over.
Going back to the going back to the Moon Knight thing we were talking about. So I'm just looking through Twitter at the minute because there's a bunch of news about Spider-Man 3 as well. Well, not a bunch, but it's news. And someone put a frame up from the comic of Moon Knight saying, "Do this scene or I'm not watching." And it's just the scene where he's walking down the stairs and says, "I know you're here, Dracula, you big fucking nerd. Where's my goddamn money?"
I'm guessing that's been photoshopped.
I don't know.
So
I don't know.
I'm not sure I've ever seen them drop an F-bomb in comics, in Marvel Comics, but I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, it is Moon Knight. It might be specifically,
Maybe.
you know.
So going back to that Monster Hunter trailer, Reese, how are we feeling about the Monster Hunter trailer?
I hate it, and Art is dead.
You know what everyone loves about the Monster Hunter series? The U.S. military. I have a
I think my
suspicion. Hang on, let me confirm it. Carry on talking for a second.
but I think my favorite tweet I saw about that was let me see if I can find it actually. But basically, it was someone had made a meme out of it where it was like they had basically said it was basically ruining fantasy by trying to glorify the U.S. military. I think was the point. And let me see if I can find the exact tweet so I can really quote it.
Okay, so it's partially produced by Tencent Pictures, which tells you everything you need to know.
There we go. There it is.
I was looking to see if it was being directed by Michael Bay, because he has a history of turning old IPs into boring mainstream explosive things, and I think this would fit the bill. But no, it's directed by someone called Paul W.S. Anderson, who actually, now that I think about it, we did talk about this already, because he had that whole controversy about because of shitty work environments beneath him, someone's stunt double lost their arm or something.
Yep. Mia Jokovic is stunt double lost her arm. Yeah.
He's not really taking responsibility for it, as far as I understand. So
he's an asshole. He makes actors do shit that's dangerous. And yeah, he just doesn't care about their well-being or anything. And yeah, so not supporting it for that reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, I found the tweet. It's just franchise exists. Hollywood. What if it was American military propaganda? So yeah.
Who penned that tweet, for the record?
At Dak Dread.
Go follow them for more fun tweets.
DAKDREAD.
We do not steal tweets here on this podcast. Are you excited for Black Widow, which definitely also has its own fair share of controversy?
Oh, tell me the controversy on that one. I haven't heard of that one.
Oh, well, it's not so much the movie. It's just people have issues with ScarJo, don't they? I'm not well versed enough to necessarily know all the ins and outs about it and talk about it. I just know that she's problematic because she played a character which was not supposed to be white, and then I think she's done something else as well. But I've just discovered that Black Widow, the soundtrack is composed by Lorne Balfe, so that's a good thing. I recognise that name. She's done some really good stuff.
Yeah, you're talking about the Ghost in the Shell live action, aren't you?
Oh yeah, but yeah, I don't know enough about it to really talk about it. I just know that.
Yeah, it's weird. Because I've heard interesting takes from like both sides with that. Because I think the entire idea of the Ghost in the Shell is that everything about your body is changed. It's just what remains is effectively your soul. So Ghost in the Shell is what the title is. And I think the idea is that they're basically making it as if like, hey, this maybe was an Asian woman at some point, but she's changed so much, she doesn't look Asian anymore. Which I thought was an interesting take. But then again, it could also be, technically that should be an Asian woman because, it's an Asian movie. Set, obviously where it's set. So, but it's such a strange thing because of the context of the anime and stuff that it's come from source material.
Yeah, is Ghost in the Shell cyberpunk setting by any chance?
Yes, I believe so.
This is something that cyberpunk fiction struggles with a lot. There was something a little bit like that in. What was it? There was a series that came to Netflix which was Cyberpunk, and it was about people swapping bodies and stuff. And I didn't really see any controversy about it. I just know that someone I talked to brought it up, how it was kind of interesting how the protagonist used to be an Asian man and then he was put into a white man's body, and that's never really addressed.
Oh, I know exactly what you're on about. Yeah, I know. I watched like the first episode of that and didn't think too much of it.
Yeah, I saw
exactly
about half the
I can't remember
series.
the show.
I thought it
I
looked
can't
good.
remember what it's called. But it was alright, yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
And
know what
then-
you mean, yeah, because the dude's Asian and then he wakes up as a white dude, yeah.
Yeah, and then as we know, Cyberpunk 2077 has its own issues. It's a video game that's coming out soon, not taking
Yeah.
transgender stuff seriously and all that. So yeah, I think people don't quite understand the cyberpunk setting and what it's really supposed to be talking about. I mean, another example of this is I tweeted this morning about how I keep getting these advertisements for Google Stadia, and one of the lines in
Yeah.
that advert, if I can find my tweet, "Party like a cyberpunk," and my tweet. This tweet came from @Critigri, who you can follow at twitter.com/Critigri. Party like a cyberpunk, says Google, missing the point where cyberpunk is about a dystopian future where megacorporations like Google have gained absolute power and are running the world into the ground. Party, party, party by Stadia. It just seems a bit off key to me. It seems a bit like they're missing the point of it a bit. But I'm not.
It just seems like Google's a bit off key a lot lately, to be honest, with the fucking shit that the guy from Stadia, guy working on Stadia stuff, with his fucking hot take
about Twitch
Jesus.
DMCA take cut downs.
Yep.
Yeah. The reason we found out the reason why you have to pay a subscription to buy the games that you have to purchase on Google Stadia. It's because they have extremely archaic views on streaming media. And that's yeah. Anyway, that's an issue for a whole different podcast. Other upcoming films, Reese. According to this, other upcoming films, according to this quick Google search, looks like a horror movie called Come Play. Something called Let Him Go. Something called Soul, which I'm assuming is about the genre of music. That could be interesting. There's a new The Croods coming out. My stepsister will be very excited. She loves The Croods.
Yeah, so I've heard.
There's a Ryan Reynolds movie coming. Is that Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah,
I think that's Ryan
Free
Reynolds.
Guy. It's be like a video gamey kind of thing. I think the idea is that they're NPCs. He plays an
that
NPC
sounds
effectively,
potentially
and then he
interesting.
gains the ability to actually play the game and see like the game as it is. And then it's a whole thing. It looks interesting. Looks like a lot of fun.
Every time
it's
a
also
movie
got
like that comes
Steve
out.
from Stranger Things as well.
Oh, cool. Every time a movie like that comes out with a premise, I'm like, oh, that sounds fun, I should watch that. And then, as I always do with movies, I leave it too late, and then I just hear from everyone, yeah, it wasn't very good. So I'm hoping it's not one of those. I mean, it's got Ryan Reynolds. He likes games, so maybe. I mean, I know he's not a director, but or maybe he is. Who knows? Let's have a look.
Yeah, he typically adds a lot of fun to movies, though. Like,
Sure,
God, I watched a movie with Molly back along, which was it's just a romance movie basically with him in, and it's the whole like idea of he's a fat nerd who runs away and goes, "I'll show you," and then comes back as a really successful hot dude. But the joke is he's a piece of shit basically, and he thinks like he can basically win back his high school sweetheart, but she doesn't want to be with that kind of guy because she likes that guy, and it becomes a whole thing. It's kind of dumb.
All right.
Yeah, he makes that movie a lot of fun.
According to the cast, Ryan Reynolds plays a character called Guy.
Yeah.
Which, as I'm saying it out loud, I've just remembered that guy as an actual name, so well done me. Also, Jacksepticeye is in this? Or Septiceye, or however you say his name?
Yes, I believe a few YouTubers got asked to be in it, including Voice Critical and Jacksepticeye. I think someone else got offered as well, I can't remember.
Also, Taika Waititi plays a character in it, so that's always a good sign. I do like some Taika Waititi. If I'm seeing his name correctly, I hope so. So other upcoming movies, there's a movie called Coming to America, which doesn't even have a movie poster, which is interesting. Death on the Nile. Wonder Woman 1984, here we go. I'm very excited for that movie. DC movies, I know, listen. I know DC superhero movies aren't MCU movies, but as I alluded to earlier when I'm talking about Doctor Who, I've really tried to step back from being hypercritical about things and getting really annoyed about flaws in things, at least when it comes to movies and shows. So I really enjoyed Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman.
I enjoyed Man of Steel as well.
I can't wait to do that movie on here. But Justice League,
I mean, it was a bit too...
I remember walking away from Justice League not very happy.
No, Justice League was a bit
But I do want to watch it again because some of my friends who also are like me and not being hypercritical about movies but just trying to enjoy them for what they are said that they had fun with it. So maybe it just didn't hit right at the time, and maybe I'll enjoy it more if I watch it again. It's been a long time. I don't remember most of the movie. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's already so many issues I could talk about regarding DCU movies, but typically, they do throw out some really good stuff when it just focuses on a single character, like Wonder Woman. That was a great movie. It wasn't amazing, but it was a great movie. I'm looking forward to Wonder Woman 84 for the same reasons. So yeah, I'm happy that that's coming out. I forgot about Marvel's The Eternals. That's coming out too. I'm just gonna skip over the ones I don't know.
Sure, I still need to go back and like watch like new when that comes out if it hasn't already.
Has that even had a
trailer?
trailer?
Got Macy Williams in it. Yeah, it's had a trailer.
Oh, I don't think I've seen
Mutants
this.
had a trailer. Because I believe New Mutants is supposed to be they're in like a sanitarium kind of place, and they're either trying to deal with their powers in some way or something, and I believe they get attacked. I think the original storyline is they get attacked by fucking some villain or something. I can't remember.
We still talk about The Eternals?
Macy Williams is in it. No.
Oh.
I was talking about New Mutants. I did say New Mutants like twice.
Sorry.
But yeah.
Wait, there's a movie
But
coming out
Eternals
about New
is.
Mutants?
I don't know if it was a series or a movie. I can't remember. It's hard to tell with all the fucking MCU stuff
New
coming
Mutants
out.
2020. Oh, this already came out. Oh, I remember seeing a trailer
Yeah.
for this, actually. I know what you're on about now.
Yeah,
Sorry, I'm with you.
But Eternals is like
it already came
pre-MCU,
out.
effectively.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it
what
did.
I'm interested with. The synopsis,
Yeah.
at least as far as Google is concerned, just says the saga of the Eternals, a race of immortal beings who lived on Earth and shaped its history and civilizations. That sounds potentially really cool.
Yeah.
Sounds
like some WoW Titan shit.
Also, Shang-Chi and the Legend of... I don't know if I said that right. The Legend
I've
of
never
Ten
heard
Rings.
of that from the MCU. Never heard of it.
It's an aspect of...
I think it's supposed to be like a
the
martial
Doctor
artist
Strange stuff, I think. Is it not? Is it not the Doctor Strange stuff? No?
I don't think so.
Oh.
Not that I'm aware of. But I know it's supposed to be like martial arts and stuff.
Oh, I'm completely wrong. I was thinking of something else. Okay. Okay, well, this looks potentially cool as well. Looking forward to this one coming out.
Yeah, it would be more of a martial artist movie, that one. But can't fault a good martial artist movie, for sure. They're always fun to watch just because of the... especially when they go fully into the actual, like, fighting, because it's really interesting to see how those work. Because it's not just dudes hitting each other, it's dudes hitting each other in very different ways.
We should watch some martial arts movies on this podcast.
We should. And then we'll watch Kung Fu Hustler, because that's like a parody martial arts movie, but also has some really good martial arts.
I mean, I've
Martial
seen Kung Fu Panda, and that was a really good movie. Does that count?
That's got really good That's got really good like martial artist stuff in it as well. It's it's got some really good kung fu in it.
I remember
actual
that-
kung fu.
I remember
Because
that. I must have been about 18 or so. I was staying at my sister's, and Kung Fu 2 was on, and Kung Fu Panda 2, and I think she was out, and I just watched Kung Fu Panda 2 by myself. I just remember sitting there the entire time thinking, this movie's way better than I thought it would be. I'm
It
really
is.
enjoying this movie.
Kung Fu Panda movies are brilliant. I still haven't watched the third one. I really need to watch the third one, but they're really good movies. The first and the second, because we recently watched the second one not too long ago.
Yeah. I don't think I even
But yeah,
enjoyed it properly because I spent too long considering the fact that why am I enjoying this so much? It's a really good
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
It's a very good movie. It's got a good pretense, and it's got good up, and the story flows really well. Fall of the hero and then the rise of the hero. It's brilliant. It's fantastic.
What's Raya and the Last Dragon? What is this? Oh, is it an animated movie?
But yeah, I was just gonna say, one of the things with like martial art movies as well is Karate Kid's kind of crap when it comes to actual like karate. It's a bit boring if you try to watch it as a karate movie because there's not much karate in it at all. But yeah, Kung Fu Hustle's really dumb, but it's really fun though, and it's got some really good fight choreography in it.
Yeah.
Also, Bulletproof Monk. Bulletproof Monk is another one as well. It's quite cool. That one's a bit weird though.
So what, did someone just smash Iron Fist and Luke Cage together, or what? Sorry, I just looked up Raya and the Last Dragon because it's an upcoming movie I know nothing about, and one of the first articles is about it. Says Raya and the Last Dragon is practically a Legend of Korra movie. I'm in. I don't know if that's meant to be a good thing or a bad thing, but I'm in.
Yeah, another one's Ong Bak. That's a good one. It's about Buddhism and stuff. Pretty good. There's also got some. It's like a small village. Their Buddha's head stolen, just as an example, and then he basically goes after him.
Oh, interesting.
But the whole pretense is like he learns how to use martial art. I can't remember what the martial art is, but he's taught how to use it, and then once he like fully learns it, he's like, okay, now never use this. It's like, all right, but then like for a good portion of the movie, he doesn't. But then he ends up in like a very sort of seedy area of I can't remember specifically where it is. And then basically ends up in sort of like a fight club accidentally. And then this dude's like, hey, you should probably fight him because he's not letting you go. And then they fight. And it's got some amazing fighting choreography in it. But there is a really dumb part. There's a chase scene in it, which it does action replays during the movie, and it kind of ruins it a bit.
That sounds weird.
But aside from that, it's a good movie. It's a brilliant movie for like watching fight choreography. It's beautiful.
Speaking of fight choreography, if you do watch Avatar stuff, you'll enjoy how all of the different types of bending have their own kind of fight choreography stuff.
Yes, I've been told about that. Yeah, I've been told
really
about that
cool.
as well, which I think is really cool.
It's definitely fun to watch. It's funny as well because I'm guilty of really enjoying over the top shonen anime fight battles. And this very much isn't that. It's very well thought out, measured. Like, nobody at any point in either of the series gets really angry and therefore more powerful. You know what I mean? Like that shonen trope of, I'm so angry at you.
Like fucking My Hero Academia?
I was thinking more of Bleach, but...
Yeah, My Hero Academia is pretty big for that as well. But what I like about My Hero Academia, though, is it does that, but also makes it a very realistic thing in a fight. Fights don't last for a very long time. It's like a few hits and then the fight's over.
Yeah.
It's a lot more realistic. And like characters dodging each other constantly, and then they land a few good hits. Like, honestly, finish watching season 3 if you haven't already, because there are some, probably the best fight scenes in that show so far are in season 3. But yeah, because he fights Redacted, and he also fights Redacted.
Oh wow!
And then these other characters, and this other character called Redacted also fights some cool people, and he is the best Redacted. But
a lot of ex-YouTubers in that series, huh?
But yeah, because they introduce because I think it's at the end of season 2 they introduced the top 3 of the school, and showed them like this is like the peak of what you can become in the school, and their superhero names are kind of cool as well. And then in the next one, it like goes into more of their stuff and like does their story. And holy shit, the character roster grows so much more in season 3, and it's still really interesting.
Nice.
Because season 3 goes into a lot more of the societal stuff and like the tiers of heroes and stuff. So you meet a lot more of the top tier heroes, and stuff like that. I'm trying to remember if end of season 2 is like the big. God, I'm trying to remember now. God, I might have to look this up. I can't remember if there's 3 or 4 seasons out, but yeah, very good show. And yeah, I just love the fights are all very, very like big. They're a big deal.
While we're talking about anime, I should mention that one of the things I go back and forth on when it comes to this podcast is there was a live action movie for Bleach, and I have not seen it, and I am someone who loves Bleach. And I'm very back and forth on whether to choose that movie as the movie of the week, because if it's a good movie, but you know what I mean, like good movie, but then I'm not sure I want that to be your first real taste of Bleach. No, that was a really bad way of saying that.
But the way they do these live action movies, they do them in a way where you can just watch them without having any knowledge of the context.
I know, but like. I don't know.
Also, I do have a basic understanding of what Bleach is as well, like, and the idea sort of around it. I've just never sat down and watched it through.
Yeah, I basically completely forgot that the live action movie existed, and that some friends, or I guess a single friend who saw that movie, who has also seen the anime, whose opinion that I trust, said to me that it was good. I was like, oh, I just kind of assumed it wouldn't be. So apparently it's good. So I should probably see that movie at some point. I don't know if we should do it on a podcast or not though.
Can do at some point.
Yeah,
Why
true.
not? If we're
I mean, I
strapped
will certainly
for
have
things to do.
a lot of extra information about the original show to bring. Also, another point about anime and movies and stuff like that. I've very much been getting back into Pokemon these last few weeks, and I keep going back and forth on. Apparently, I keep going back and forth on a lot of things. I like to play tennis now in my brain, but I can't decide whether I want to try and get into the Pokemon anime, because at one point I'm like, you get to see lots more about the actual Pokemon, lots more like fun little stories about what they're actually like in that world. You get to see the cities in greater detail, all this kind of thing. But then on the other hand, I'm like, oh yeah, but also because it's really aimed at kids, there's like zero character development over tens and tens of seasons.
It is built to be for kids for sure. Like, it's not something to digest as an adult, like older.
But like, I keep wanting to see the movies because there's always all this marketing. Whenever there's a new legendary Pokemon, there's usually a movie that comes after it. Well, not always, but like a lot of the movies are centered around legendary Pokemon. I'm always like, oh man, I should see that movie to learn more, to have more of a connection with that Pokemon in the actual game, you know. But I don't know whether that'd be a good idea to do without watching the anime or whatever. But basically, all this is leading up to me saying a very famous movie is the very first Pokemon movie, and they remade that recently, and I'm always like, should we do that on this show, or should we watch the original, or should one of us watch the original and one of us watch the remade version? You know, like, I'm always wondering about that kind of thing, because people say, the remade version doesn't capture the spirit of the original, but if I know my Reddit, that could just very well be people seeing the original through rose-tinted glasses. To the best of my understanding, it's the same movie, it's just animated differently, and maybe rough redone voice acting as well. I'm not so sure about that. I don't think they change any of the plot or anything like that. I would have to look that up first, but then that would be spoilers, so if anyone knows, just let me know. But I'm always wondering about whether we should do that movie too. Because I do like me some Pokemon. One movie we definitely do need to do is Detective Pikachu, because I want to see me some Bulbasaur.
Detective Pikachu is a great movie, holy shit!
I want to do Detective Pikachu, it looks really good. Is that even on
got,
Netflix?
Obviously it's got Ryan Reynolds, it's got Justice in it as well. His first movies, and he's actually quite good in it.
I know I would like the movie, but it's not on Netflix! No!
I mean, it only came out like a year or so ago.
Yeah.
And probably made like a shit ton of money because
dude, everything Pokemon makes a shit ton of money. Yeah.
I mean, it's like the I think Game Grumps was talking about it not too long ago, but it's something I knew about from before then as well. Is the whole like highest grossing like IPs.
Yeah, I didn't know
like,
it was
Pokemon
quite
is
as high
like
as it is.
number one.
I didn't know it was quite that high, but I think it was like number 2 or 3 or something. But yeah, I didn't know it.
But Hello Kitty's up there as well, which I thought was.
Yeah. The thing that gets me with Pokemon is they did this series a while back on their YouTube channel. I forget what it was called because they have lots of animated one-offs on their YouTube channel. But basically, it was a series where they just animated like the biggest, most important battles in the games, basically in the story of the games, as if it was part of part of a greater show. And those, I'm gonna rewatch them soon, but those are fucking fantastic shorts. Like it gets really like shonen at points, and they're like 8 minutes long each as well, or something like that.
Yeah.
And for some of them, because I haven't played for all the Pokemon games, it makes me want to play them. I'm like, holy shit, what happens in Pokemon Black and White that we get to this point in the storyline, you know? But more than that, it just makes me wish there was a separate Pokemon anime which actually had character development.
yeah, for sure.
But I'm going down a rabbit hole again. I should just call
but
this podcast.
It's a case of like it's the same as like Nintendo thing is trying to cater to kids.
Yeah,
like, trying to
I don't
push
blame
that
them. Like you should definitely have shows for kids, and I think Pokemon's great for kids. I just wish that there was also something a little bit like just not like super mature, but just like young adult where everyone can enjoy it, like Avatar. where it actually
This is
has.
why I think that like MCU and stuff especially is so smart in what they're doing, because they're building it in a way where both sides can enjoy it, so that they get
Exactly.
a much greater audience in as well. Plus, they also have their darker shows as well as their not so dark shows. So I think it's really interesting how they've done it, and they've basically shown like it can be done. You can cater to both without, you know, without either overdoing it or not doing it enough for the audiences.
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons why those films work and why they're so popular. Aside from people just liking superheroes, I guess. But and I think it's one of those things that, I mean, Nintendo's a lot better for right now for sure. But they used to be very much like, no, we can't have this, that, and the other. And then obviously that probably changed around the time they started being like, oh, Bayonetta 2 is a Wii U exclusive.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you mean the lady that literally becomes naked when she attacks? Okay.
Yeah, Nintendo were extremely protective of their child audience for a long time. But I think they finally
it's not just
realised
that
that
as
it's like a single console doesn't have to have an age demographic. It's the games within the capability of that console that do. And they finally embraced it.
They've made a lot of mistakes like that as well, like forcing the hardware, obviously with the content as well, being like, no, it needs to be this kind of content. But with the Switch, like, they kind of turned all that around for sure. Like the Switch was almost like an entirely new experience and a new breath of life into them completely. Like, but I imagine like made their stuff skyrocket again, because I imagine it was starting to fall apart a bit and look a bit dire.
Yeah, they really needed the Switch to succeed, and it really succeeded.
If the Switch didn't work, we'd probably be looking at
them going the Sega route.
A situation, like Sega route, or maybe even like selling off their stuff like Mario did back in like 90.
Yeah, but
like with a franchise like Pokemon, though, are you really ever gonna be like that strapped? Like, you've got $1 billion IP.
Yeah, they'd probably just make their own Pokemon systems.
Exactly, they would. Exactly, they would just adapt and become. Yeah.
I have a feeling that the real money making side of Pokemon is more to do with the animes, with the anime and the toy making side of it than the games.
For sure,
specifically.
Because all the stuff is same with the kids for sure. The games are just there to to keep it going for the original lot.
Well, I think it was a trading card game before anything else. I might be wrong, but
that's entirely possible. I mean, trading card stuff was a big deal back in the day. But I'm just trying to remember. So I think one of the most interesting things I've ever heard about Nintendo, because this was back in the Wii U era, is that they pretty much had cornered the market on home game systems, not a specific demographic, just a game system you have in a home that a family would play on with like the Wii and stuff. And then the Wii U came out and they kind of just ruined it, and they pushed the hardware so hard that they just didn't have the games, didn't have the people like wanting to work on the games, because they had to so aggressively stick to the hardware and make the hardware work along with it, which was the hardware was shit, let's be honest. And they basically said about how they had it cornered, and yet they were just squandering it and allowing these other people to run away with it. I mean, Xbox tried to do with their Xbox One, they tried to do like a home console thing with it, but they did it wrong, because that's not what they've done for years. That's not what they know. And it definitely feels like they were trying to. They saw like the failure of the Wii U and were like, this is somewhere we could definitely market to now, of like being like a home console for families, rather than, oh, this is a cool game, you should buy it for this game. And it became more of a like, this is a system that you'll want in your house that will make things interesting and fun for your family, and it'll help you in your day-to-day life and stuff. And it's like, well, no, Xboxes and PlayStations will always sell the games that are on. Less so now, because of obviously what they're doing with these things, and obviously with the Game Pass stuff and how they're marketing it, which Xbox are doing a fucking amazing job doing. Honestly, like, and like the way I think Xbox has definitely learned a lot for sure, based on all of that. And it's the same with Nintendo as well. Nintendo learned a lot from their failings, which is why they're prospering so much now. And I honestly think it will be Xbox's turn once the new consoles drop. I honestly think Xbox is going to destroy PlayStation.
By the way, before we go
not by too much, but
too much further down this rabbit hole, I will just quickly say that the game did come first before the trading card game. I looked it up, but also this is why we could very easily do a video game podcast. I actually wanted us to do a movie podcast because I think it would be more challenging. But me and Reese, we could talk about video games for hours and hours and hours. Like
I think we're at a point now where we understand, like we're starting to slowly understand the, because we're kind of like trying to pay attention to it.
It's because we're so awesome,
or like we're more interested in how it works.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And I just think it's interesting, like, because you think of it this way, it's just like a lot of games are just interactive movies if they're done right.
Well, yeah,
like,
it
depends. I mean, in terms of like story, I mean, like making it interesting enough to keep your attention while also like playing.
Games aren't always about story, though. I think
for sure.
I think I disagree. I think games are their own medium. They don't need to be like, it's a version of a movie, but you're controlling.
There is a section of games that will bleed into that for sure.
Yeah.
But as a whole, games are an experience, a very different experience. Sorry. Whether it's pure like I mean, challenge. There's obviously fun. There's all sorts. There's like putting yourself in that situation. Escapism and all that.
The original selling point of games, right?
It's like TV, but you control what happens on the screen.
Yeah,
a miracle.
Like, this is you.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those things as well as like living vicariously through characters you make and stuff as well, and being able to make a character so perfectly, which is why the WoW stuff they obviously put on the pre-patch with the changes to characters.
I mean, that road
comes
all the way back from D&D more than anything else, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think D&D is the original kind of thing for that, which is why D&D is so fun as well. You can make a character however you want, and it doesn't matter. It just fits. It works in the game. It just fits. And the less lenient you are, the more fun it is, for sure.
Tonight on a very special episode of Pokemon, Ash Ketchum fucking dies. I was just thinking that was just a thing left behind in my brain from like 20 minutes ago when we were talking about a more mature version of Pokemon. Rated M for Ash Ketchum fucking dies. So Reese, what? We are a movie podcast. We should probably do movies. What movie are we going to be watching next week? Because my choice didn't exactly work out. My choice did not work out.
Let me look at the list.
Are we going to do another horror movie because we only did one horror, or are we going to?
I guess, but it's going to be November by the time the next one rolls around.
I kind of feel like doing something brighter. This movie.
Something a bit more exciting.
A Nightmare on Elm Street, the 2010 version, really just kind of pissed me off more than anything.
Yeah.
I'd like something that's just fun. Do not watch that movie. I don't know if people are going to think I'm overreacting, by the way, because I did have a peek at the reviews and hardly anyone mentioned the fact that it took the turn it did with that character, but like, no, that's just my thing. Like, I mean, if you're going to explore themes like that, I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying you should do it in more of a like sensitive way. He was. I'm not going to go into the details, but like, he was literally bragging about stuff, and just no. Just bad movie. Bad. I glimpsed the review scores for that movie as well, and they were super low. And I was like halfway through the movie, I was like, I wonder why the review scores are so low. This is actually a pretty decent movie so far. And then it took that turn, and I went, that's why. So
I have. Hang on.
I'm hanging on. I'm vamping.
I'm just see if I can find it.
It is me, that boy who do the vamp, so that the person listening to the podcast be like, hey, I've still got content to listen to and I'm having a good time right now. I hope you are having a good time right now, dude.
I hope they haven't removed it, because I know they removed stuff on Netflix.
I hope they haven't removed it too, whatever it is that you think they removed.
They might have removed it. Never mind.
While you look this up, I'm going to be going on the Pokemon channel seeing what that series was called. because it was so good. It was so good. The thing that made me want to get back into playing Pokemon, by the way, wasn't the DLC. I was just adding soundtracks to my playlist, and I was just like, oh, the Pokemon soundtracks are really good, especially Gen 4. Please remake Gen 4. The latest things on the Pokemon channel are Tales from the Pokedex, and it's just a bunch of ghost-type Pokemon. I might watch those videos.
Okay, friend, would you like to watch a Ghibli film? Because I think that's probably the most wholesome and probably, yeah.
Friend, I would absolutely like to watch a Ghibli film. How are we doing this? Are we doing it in order?
So, I'm going to say, no, I mean, there's no real order to them. They're kind of their own
I know,
thing.
I meant like release order.
Okay, I'll give you a choice of two. Howl's Moving Castle or Spirited Away?
Howl's Moving Castle is the one I've seen.
So Spirited Away?
Spirited
Away. That's
Away.
the one I've seen.
Oh, what a choice.
Do you want to do something, a completely different one, like Princess Mononoke?
I don't know, dude. Throw one at me and we'll do it.
Like, literally just threw 3 at you. What do you want from me?
To not make me do any decision making at all, because life is scary and I'm a very anxious boy. Oh no, now I'm making him choose and he's being rent apart.
Hang on, I'm going to see what Ghibli films we've got to choose from.
Okay, just so everyone knows, the Pokemon animated series I was discussing earlier, where they animated a whole bunch of Pokemon fights from the stories, from the story of the games. They're called Pokemon Generations, and they did 18 of them. And so there's some stuff. It looks like the first one deals with one of the Reggies. I don't remember that, which is interesting because that's a Gen 3 Pokemon. But yeah, it's all like these. It's not even all legendary Pokemon fights. One of them deals with like a red Gyarados from Pokemon Gold and Silver. But yeah, it's just a bunch of really well animated shorts that come from and look like they come from an anime directed towards just, I don't know, like the same kind of stuff as like Bleach and Naruto and stuff, you know. It's really good. I'm gonna rewatch all of them.
We're gonna do because I know you already written it down in the list. So Tales from Earthsea, I think, would be a good one.
Tales from Earthsea.
Yes, that one's actually in the list. That was specifically written down in the list.
You probably told me to write it down because I've never heard of it. Okay.
Molly probably.
Let's see. As their world decays, an Archmage guides a troubled prince with a dark side on a journey to find the source of evil and save the women they love. The women they love? What does he? Wait, what? Is he polyamorous? What's this about? I'm guessing that's just a weird way of putting that. Yeah, this looks good. We'll watch. Okay, so
Tales from Earthsea.
Next week we will be watching the Studio Ghibli film Tales from Earthsea. Earthsea is one word. Don't get that wrong. Otherwise, you'll type it into Netflix, and the Netflix demon will come out and take you.
Just type in Ghibli, and it'll be like the third one down.
Ghibli!
Third row down.
Yeah. So yeah, this will be cool. We'll watch this. Also, I do want to mention we will be getting back to the MCU at some point to do Phase 2. That'll be happening soon. And then for Christmas...
There's a lot more films in Phase 2.
I haven't talked to Reese about this yet, but for Christmas, I don't really love Christmas movies. We can do like one actual Christmas movie around Christmas time if you like.
Nightmare Before Christmas?
I thought that was more of a Halloween movie, Reese.
I mean, it's got Christmas in it. It works. It counts. It's fine.
I mean, I do definitely want to do that.
It counts.
But for the month of December, I was thinking more just like comfort films that we regularly go to. So for me, around Christmas time, I always love watching movies like Disney Pixar movies, like Cars and Finding Nemo. So they could be fun to do. I just don't know how much podcast we'll get out of them. Is my only concern. But I'm sure we can stretch it out. I'm sure.
So yeah, we'll talk about something that's entirely unrelated. And
I mean, we didn't even have a movie this week because A Nightmare on Elm Street 2010 doesn't exist. It's dead to me. And we still managed to talk
for an hour.
Yeah, we vamped for like an hour and 10 minutes? Question mark. An hour and 15 minutes. It looks like. So yeah, we're good podcasters. Like all we had to do was talk about the games industry for a bit and Pokemon. because naturally we will be doing Pokemon at some point. By the way, just not right now. Maybe the week after. I'll think about it. Okay, I'll think about it. If you've got any suggestions, by the way, you're always free to put it in the chat, or if you're listening
My
to
Hero
this later,
Academia movie.
no. Or at me on Twitter, or at Reese on Twitter. I'm at Kritigri, Kritigri. My current profile picture is a little bit, I was gonna say spooky, but it's actually just a bit weird. But that'll be that. And then Reese is
Teleport behind you.
Reese is spooky scary. Reese is at Reese Curie, ReeseKiri. So there's that. Thank you for listening to this podcast. I know it was a bit helter-skelter this week, but I didn't just want to cancel. I wanted to address why this happened, and I wanted to just do a podcast anyway, because it's fun to hang out with you guys and with Reese. I say you guys, I don't know if anyone's actually listening, but it's fun to hang out with Reese at least.
Yeah, I'm here.
Statistics say we might have 1 or 2 listeners, so that's exciting. Thank you for listening. And we'll see you next week after having watched Tales from Earthsea. I'm actually pretty excited about that. It looks pretty fun.
Good old Ghibli's.
Good old Ghibli. I really liked Howl's Moving Castle when I saw that. So I saw a gif of that recently of the old lady. I forget. I just saw a gif about it and it was fun. I forget what the gif even was. Anyway, thank you for watching this episode of Pictures Without Pictures, or listening to it, or however you consume it. Maybe you consumed it through the magic of Smell-O-Vision in the year 3954. But that's probably not what happened. I'll see you next week. Reese, do a better outro.
Goodbye.
What he said.